Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to another pre-show. The last one we have before Christmas.
Yes, this is it. Next show is, I guess, the Christmas show.
I mean, well, no, because Christmas is going to be on Friday.
Yeah.
So,
So the show we do after Christmas will be the Christmas show because it'll be in the 12 days.
oh well, that's true. Okay.
Well,
It hasn't worked out like that historically, but I mean, if you want to do that, we can do that. Sure.
well, we can't very well have this as the Christmas show. I mean, I'm gonna have some Christmas decorations and stuff up by next week.
So you never put Christmas lights up in your house before Christmas.
Not before Christmas. No, I don't put anything up until Christmas Eve.
So you
Except,
uh, yeah, the nativity scene, yeah.
yeah. And you notice there's no baby Jesus there.
A lot of people do that. That's a popular thing. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
heard of that. I don't agree. I don't agree with the lights thing though. So you must not like Hastings Ranch.
Oh, I love Hastings Ranch. It's just I don't put anything up until Christmas Eve.
But what about the anticipation?
I'm all for anticipating it. I mean, look at our audience. They're dressed like a bunch of Dickensian carolers.
Dickensian?
Dickensians and Charles Dickens. They look
Wow.
very 19th century, as though they're about to burst into song, and not singing "Last Christmas I Gave You My Heart." No, no, no. If our audience right now, our Patreons, started singing, it would be the first Noel, or God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen, or whose child is this? What child is this? That's what they'd be singing. They wouldn't be singing, chestnuts roasting on an open fire, or Frosty the Snowman, or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely.
Our judging by their appearance, our patrons would be singing the good old religious Christmas carols that we grew up with, that you don't hear on the month-long barrage of Christmas music that you'll hear on the radio stations now.
Well, because we're celebrating diversity and inclusion.
By keeping out real Christmas. Okay. Last Christmas I blew out my brains. The very next day you pushed it through strains. This year, to keep me from harm, I give it to someone special, special, special. I hate that song.
I actually haven't heard that this year. I
You
don't hear
haven't?
that often. No.
Oh, lucky man. Well, I haven't heard it at all here in Austria. The closest we came, I did hear White Christmas sung in German, but it spoke about Christus, so I think they just like the tune.
My brother has been playing it a lot, and it's more stuff like it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. See,
It
that's a
is.
nice song. But see, you don't. You see, now you'd have a problem with that song because it can only begin to look like Christmas at Christmas.
No, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. That starts, especially if you go into the stores.
But they should be doing that though, according to you, because they're jumping the gun.
Yeah, that's true. They should do everything on Christmas Eve and then keep it up until Candlemas Eve.
I don't feel like that's realistic, Charles.
It may not be realistic, but it's the ideal. And if you don't have ideals, if you
It's
shoot for the
it's
if
your
you shoot for
ideal.
the stars, you may hit the horizon. If you shoot for the horizon, you'll hit the mud. It's what our ancestors did, and I take what they did as the ultimate, the top.
Okay. Well, our ancestors did a lot of things. They celebrated Halloween very differently as well. But
Yes,
I
they did.
don't think
And in some
you're.
ways, I don't know. I kind of like bonfires and
Yeah.
causing mayhem,
Hmm.
especially now. I think it would be a great way to celebrate COVID-19. Big bonfire of masks, Gavin Newsom and Mayor Garcetti thrown onto the bonfire. I mean, sorry, effigies of
Effigies. Isn't that for dead
Yeah.
people though?
No, no, you can have burn living people in effigy
Okay.
as a protest. It would be a civil rights display.
Oh,
Although
okay.
in a post-democratic era, we probably don't want to do that. Don't want
Hmm.
to upset our masters.
Post-democratic. That's interesting. So we're postmodern, right?
Well, we were, and now we're just post-democratic.
I What comes after postmodern? I mean, don't tell me post-democratic.
Well, it's what we are now, so I presume.
Wait, what?
Postmodern?
See, I mean,
Postmodern?
when are we gonna come up with a new adjective for the times, right?
Post-democratic.
Like, were the people living during the Renaissance? Did they refer to themselves as like, oh yeah, this was the Renaissance?
No, no, no. These names are generally given afterwards.
Hmm.
Usually they're given afterwards. The people who lived in the Dark Ages didn't think of them as the Dark Ages. Although if they could see us, they probably would think we're living in the Dark Ages.
Hmm.
Since we have no idea of marriage or family and we murder infants, they would probably think we were filthy scumbags as a people, as a culture.
Okay. Well, let's keep it light, Charles. It's
Well, I can keep it light. I can keep it very light. I can keep it so light you'll beg me to stop.
I don't think so.
Well, you don't think so.
No,
How do you feel
because
about how do you feel about fluffy bunnies?
I love fluffy bunnies. I love that picture you posted with the fluffy bunny and what is it, a dog or something?
It's a puppy.
Puppy. Yeah. Really cute, Charles.
Did you like that?
See, what you assume that people don't like cute things, which is strange to me.
Oh, I know they don't. Most people don't. You do. You like cute things.
Well, you
But I,
Colombes don't. I mean, you guys have this
what are you talking
these
about? We love cute stuff.
in an ironic way
Ah, ironic.
or
What are you talking
in
about?
a sarcastic way.
Sarcastic.
Are you just going to
What are
repeat
you
what I
talking
say
about?
in question form?
Well, I just think that this is so insane what you're saying. Everyone knows that my whole clan are filled with nothing but nice, loving, gooeyly, gooeyly saccharine people. We're all like that.
Okay.
Name one Coulombe who isn't oozing, and I mean oozing, not to say reeking, of love and charm. I got you there, smart guy. And there's more than that. I'll have you know that my brother and I, when we were little, we raised guinea pigs.
What does that have to do with anything?
They're cute.
I mean, so raising guinea pigs makes you an aficionado of cuteness?
Oh gosh, yes. Especially when you raise them for guinea pig fights.
Wait, what? I
Hmm?
don't believe that.
What?
Guinea pig fights?
Guinea pig fights?
What is that like cockfighting?
Yeah.
You put a knife on their feet and then you see which one
Don't
makes
be
it out.
silly. Don't put a knife on their feet. That's ridiculous. Little razor blade.
Oh, razor blade. Excuse me.
Very small. They can't really do a lot of damage.
Okay.
You've never done guinea pig fighting. I'm
Never.
amazed. Oh, it was big stuff when we were kids. Let me tell you. And we raised the champion guinea pigs as far as that went.
Real killers, huh?
Well, that, not really. I mean, I have to say I have yet to see a fatality in a guinea pig fight.
I see.
Mostly, what happens is the loser gets loved to death. I mean, figuratively speaking, they don't actually die, but they get overloved.
Death by love.
Hmm. Death by love, and it's so cute to see them nuzzling one another. That's how they fight. You know, they nuzzle.
Okay.
We made a lot of money out of guinea pig fights.
That's
And to this day, they're still legal in the county of Los Angeles. You know that?
wow. I just feel tied up in knots right now. I don't even know what to say to this.
What do you mean? What's to say? It was the sport of our youth, like bear baiting. I mean, it was a great, great, great thing to do, guinea pig fighting.
Wait, what's bear baiting?
Oh, bear baiting. Well, you've got a bear and you've got generally a dog, or sometimes a wolf, but a dog is more, like a pit bull or something, and they fight.
The bear and a dog?
Or a wolf, yeah.
Well, you'll just kill the dog. I don't understand.
Not necessarily. I mean, maybe if you're using a grizzly, but use a regular black bear. Not always. Also, you wouldn't use just one dog. You'd use 3 or 4 of them.
Are you making this stuff up? This is crazy.
No, I'm not making it up.
Okay, you
I
are
don't mean to
making
say
that up.
we.
You are making it up. You're making
Look
it
up
up.
bear baiting. Look up bear baiting right now.
Bear baiting.
Yeah, Baiting.
I mean, where's PETA on this? This is bear baiting is a blood sport involving the worrying or tormenting of bears with dogs.
That's
It
what I
may
said.
also involve pitting a bear against another animal.
Yeah, see, like a wolf. I told you. You know, I made this up. I didn't make it up. And it was bear baiting. It was our reading about bear baiting that inspired our invention of guinea pig fighting.
This is Shakespearean England it's talking about, not...
Well, yeah, I realize. But we were inspired by the accounts of bear baiting we read to invent guinea pig fighting.
This is crazy. I'm just seeing this. It's like a gladiatorial
Yeah, except
event.
that no human beings are harmed.
Okay. Wow.
So you can see why inventive children, such as my brother and I were, since we were raising guinea pigs anyway, we figured that using them in place of bears and dogs would be, and also inspired by cockfighting. Now, it is true that guinea pigs don't have quite the aggressive sense that bears, dogs, and fighting cocks have. So we did have to substitute a lot. Had to alter the rules somewhat. So, for instance, usually they fight to the death in those games. Well, that just wasn't going to cut it because guinea pigs are not going to kill each other, as you guessed. So we said, all right, they're not going to kill each other. The one that gets overloved loses.
Okay. That's wonderful, Charles.
But you should have seen us. You'd have like 7 or 8 kids in a circle, right, in a ring with the guinea pigs going after each other. And it was, we'd be cheering on and all that. It was great stuff. We made a lot of money.
I believe
we raised
it.
champion guinea pigs. And I think in guinea pig fighting, in a sense, you've got kind of a metaphor for modern life.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, you know how nice everything is now because we're ruled by very nice people?
Yeah.
And there's no badness, right?
Right.
So the normal natural strains and stresses of life are really just like a big guinea pig fight.
Sort of like Edward Scissorhands, where they just want to hug you, but then they kill you.
Well, yes, but you can't have everything. It's the thought that counts. I think if we learned nothing else from Edward Scissorhands, it was the thought that counts.
All right.
Feel better?
No. All right. Let's move on to the questions.
Okay.
First couple questions from Matthew. Which, if any, of the many Irish rebellions would Charles consider to be just, according to the Catholic just war theory? And how did they differ from the rebellions considered unjust?
Well, I would guess. I don't know if these would really qualify per se as rebellions, but I would say certainly the Confederate War in Ireland, with the Catholics and Anglicans of Ireland fighting for the king against Cromwell and his men, was certainly just, as I would the Williamite War, with the supporters of King James fighting against the supporters of King William. Well, the others, 1798 was inspired to a great degree by the French Revolution. And it's interesting that the O'Connells of Derrynane down there in County Kerry, or County Cork, the relations of Daniel O'Connell, the Liberator, they opposed the 98, as did most of Munster, because as the old joke had it, Munster was too Jacobite ever to be Jacobin. The Fenians, of course, were a secret society. And the 1916 Rising, unfortunately or otherwise, I can't look at the 1916 Rising without reference to the 1914 Curragh Camp Mutiny, when a bunch of British officers mutinied, saying that if Home Rule went through, they wouldn't obey. The problem was that the British pardoned the Curragh Camp mutineers and executed all but one of the 1916 rebels. If they had executed them both or pardoned them all, there wouldn't have been an Irish Revolution. But they played favorites, so to speak. So there you go.
Right. Given the bad state of things in Ireland at the moment and the severe lack of leadership, both religious and secular, are there any historical Irish figures Charles would encourage a young modern Irishman to study who Charles considers good to emulate? And would he please give some resources on the individuals?
Woof, woof, woof. Yes, of course, you betcha. Patrick Sarsfield, Daniel O'Connell, Kevin O'Higgins, Michael Collins, I guess Ewan O'Duffy, Father Cahill, and Father, I know his name is Rose Mountain, I've gone blank. Mystical Body of Christ in the Modern World.
Fahey?
Yes, Father Fahey. Yeah, I guess that would about do it. O'Higgins was good. Cosgrave.
These Irishmen are really anti-Semitic. Some of those ones that you picked there.
You know, that is a really stupid canard. You must have gotten guinea pig fighting or something. Whenever I hear
Father Fahey, Father Cahill, I mean, these are some hugely
when I hear the word anti-Semitic these days, it's like when I hear systemic racism, my eyes glaze over. They really do. Fahey and Cahill identified the Jews with international finance and people like the Rothschilds and so forth. Obviously, that is not what the majority of Jews are like, any more than the majority of Italians are mafiosi.
Well, I think Cahill does more than that in the framework of a Christian state. He was linking Jews with communist Russia, too.
Well, there too. A lot of the leaders of the Russian Revolution were Jewish. Trotsky, you remember, was really Bronstein. I mean, that's an historical fact that was later used by other people, just as awful as the people they were attacking, to justify attacking the Jews as a whole.
Okay.
But, let's put it this way. If I order everyone executed who says that the The Americans were defeated by the Indians at the Little Bighorn. All right, it's terrible that I'm doing this, but it doesn't change the historical fact that the Indians did in fact defeat the Americans at the Little Bighorn. Well, that doesn't make me anti-American. It doesn't make me anti-Indian. It makes me pro-history.
But if you go into the area where you're okay, I'm not going to belabor the point. I'm kind of saying this jokingly. But
Yeah,
I don't really want to turn
don't.
it into a thing.
Other people don't. They take this thing so serious, and I've grown up listening to this stuff, and I'm tired. Really tired of it. It's one of the reasons why we started guinea pig fighting.
Yeah, to get away from all this, yeah.
That's right. There's nothing quite like seeing the bloodlust in the owners' faces and the fighting guinea pigs just not delivering.
All right.
Stop snuggling! Kill him! But see, guinea pigs would rather snuggle than fight. That was why we had to change the rules, so that the most loved guinea pig would be the loser rather than the one who was killed. So when you have a guinea pig who's being closely snuggled by like all 4 or 5 of the others, he loses.
Wow. All right. A couple questions from Nicholas. I noticed that some monarchs are styled as the monarch of the land they reign over, while some are styled as monarchs of the people they reign over. For example, the title of King of Scots and the title of King of England. Some titles have also been altered between the two styles, famously with the French monarchy when King Philip II changed the title from the previous Roi de France to the title Roi de France.
De
Français. I imagine there are real significant reasons for choosing one style over the other, beyond just liking how one sounds. And so I was wondering if Charles could share with us an explanation. Of course, with the permission of Mr. Vincent Waddelive Franchini.
May I?
Yes, you may.
Okay, despite the whole guinea pig thing.
Right.
All right. Well, yes. Very early on, when Europe was inhabited by tribal peoples, the kings were the king of the Franks, the king of the Visigoths, the king of Scots. Then, in time, as these kingdoms became more settled, the king's title changed to reflect not the people but the landscape, with the exception being the King of Scots. It wasn't until the King of Scots inherited the English throne in the person of James VI and I that he was addressed as King of Scotland. Well, in the 19th century, starting with Louis Philippe, he wanted to break with the old Kingdom of France. Now, Napoleon had styled himself trying to look back to Charlemagne and the Franks. Remember, they had been kings of the Franks. He styled himself not Emperor of France, but Emperor of the French. But this, under him, became a sign of liberal monarchy. So when he was deposed and the Bourbons came back, they were once more kings of France. But Louis Philippe overthrows the rightful king, or rather replaces him, and styles himself King of the French, in emulation of Napoleon. But this became a thing for the new liberal monarchies. So in 1830, you had the Kingdom of the Belgians. And to this day, the official title is not King of the Belgians, King of Belgium, but King of the Belgians. You had King of the Bulgarians, King of the Hellenes. All of the, or many of the liberal monarchies that were founded in the 19th century used that style. So that's why.
Another question from Nicholas. I was wondering if Charles could take some time to discuss some details about General George S. Patton, an American general that most seem to know the name of, but knowing the name seems to be the extent of Americans' knowledge of the man. If Charles could also discuss his rather interesting time as military governor of Bavaria, whether or not Charles believes he was assassinated, and due to his rivalry with British General Bernard Montgomery, if Charles prefers one general over the other. If Charles could discuss these with the approval of Mr. Vincent the Book Czar Franchini, that would be lovely. I approve.
All right. Well, George S. Patton was the son of a Confederate Army officer from Virginia who had settled in a small town in Southern California called Lake Vineyard. Now, we know Lake Vineyard today as San Marino. And the family parish, they had a ranch where they raised horses and cattle and guinea pigs and so forth. And they, but you know, they used to have these big guinea pig drives in Southern California.
Got it.
They'd have cats to, you know, sort of herd them. Anyway, but
Continue.
well, no, see, they go from the San Gabriel Valley, where the big guinea pig ranches were, to the railhead in Los Angeles, and then they'd go east to the, you know, to the big pet shops and so forth in New York and everywhere.
Okay.
They were like cattle drives. All right. Anyway, so Central, you know, downtown Union Station. That was where they load up the guinea pigs.
If you don't drop the guinea pigs very soon, I'm going to lose it, Charles. I'm going to lose my mind.
Okay. I had no idea you were so sensitive to guinea pigs. Interesting. Anyhow, so Patton, apart from those creatures, raised a lot of other things. And like his father, because his Confederate father had been to West Point, he too went to West Point, and like his father, was a cavalryman. His father was a Civil War veteran. And if you go to the Church of Our Savior in San Gabriel today, the Patton family church, you'll see their graveyard, and you'll see a statue in the graveyard of General George S. Patton. And that church is very close to your home. I just thought I'd point that out. Well, he married a well-to-do lady, had a lot of money himself. As the second lieutenant of cavalry, he had a string of polo ponies, which was something only really wealthy people had. And he often forgot to cash his paycheck from the Army because he had so much money, he didn't need it. Anyway, he served in World War I. He served after the war. And he rose up to be chief of cavalry up until Roosevelt reorganized the military. Every branch, infantry, cavalry, artillery, etc., had a bureau. The cavalry bureau, the artillery bureau, etc. And the top-ranking officer in that branch was the chief of cavalry, chief of artillery, etc. That was all done away with. And a lot of branch-specific stuff was done away with when Roosevelt reorganized the Army. Now, Roosevelt had a particular dislike of the horse cavalry, and Patton had a particular love of it. So in 1940, I think 1940 or 41, they had what were called the Louisiana maneuvers. And these were this huge set of military maneuvers, which were designed to show that modern cavalry would not function well. The cavalry would not function well in modern warfare. Well, Patton surprised everybody. And the cavalry did really well in the Louisiana maneuvers, which disappointed Roosevelt, apparently. Well, the war breaks out. He gets sent to Europe. He was a very foul-mouthed individual, but the reason for it, he didn't have an impressive voice like George C. Scott's in the movie. He had a very high-pitched voice, and he swore a lot so people would listen to him. Dagnabbit. He was very, very much aware of the problems posed by the Soviets. And one of the things about him, and Austria here owes him a tremendous debt of gratitude, because, you know, we have the Spanish writing school here in Vienna with the Lipizzaner stallions. And as is typical of European countries, there's the government writing school, and, you know, they perform and all that. for safety's sake, during the war, the stallions were sent away from Vienna. The mares were elsewhere in Austria, but the stallions were sent away to Czechia, to Bohemia. And as the Soviets were coming in the collapsing Reich, they took Budapest and they ate all the horses at the riding school there. And for some reason, the commander of the Spanish riding school here in Vienna was not happy with the idea of their stallions falling into the hands of the Soviets. So he appealed to General Patton to save them. And so Patton crossed the Czech frontier, which he wasn't supposed to do, and seized the spot where they were and secured them and sent them back here. And Disney made a movie about it called The Flight of the White Stallions. So that's Patton is kind of a hero to all of the many aficionados of the Spanish riding school here, just so you'll know. He was killed in an accident in Luxembourg. I don't know much about his governorship of Bavaria, except that it didn't last all that long. He was killed in an accident that some people claim was not an accident, and was buried in Luxembourg in an army military cemetery there. So his body was never brought back to Southern California and San Gabriel. So there are a lot of theories as to why, if he was killed on purpose, why it happened. Some people have said that had he lived, he would have been elected president instead of Eisenhower, which certainly would have made a very different 1950s, I can tell you that. But I don't know. As with Meyerling and the Kennedy assassination, who really knows for sure? I don't.
Patton didn't strike me as a politician based on...
Neither was Eisenhower. But they both had very different views the way things should be done.
It's interesting.
For instance, Eisenhower was very much into containment and that kind of thing, which is why he did nothing for the Hungarians in '56, why he sold out the French in Indochina, and the British and the French at Suez. I think Patton's reaction to all of those issues would have been quite different to Eisenhower's.
Let's see here. A question from Anonymous.
Anonymous.
This is a deeply personal question, but I hope Mr. Coulombe can shed some light on my predicament.
We'll see.
I immigrated to this country as a young boy from Mexico. I've tried my best to fit into mainstream society, but I've never felt American. I've always thought I should try to assimilate more fully, but to what? I refuse to become one of those Latinx, the border crossed me, the Spanish killed our people, we are natives, Mexican Americans, that are both anti-Mexican and anti-American.
Yeah.
I refuse to give up my faith and become an atheist, or worse yet, a Protestant. I tried Angloanizing myself, but that felt fake. While I can sympathize with the Trumpy MAGA 1776 come and take it crowd, I know I don't belong there. In rejecting all of these, what do I have left? Since I can remember, I've instinctively felt that my time in the U.S. was limited, and that eventually I would have to return. That I'm here to learn, gain some influence and capital, and return to try to fix the country of my birth. But I don't know how much of this is realistic and how much is just youthful idealism. I say all this with a deep respect for the country that has taken me in as an adoptive son and has given me the world. But I'm not going to be a hypocrite and not acknowledge the fact that in no small part the reason Mexico is in the state it's in is because of the United States. To a degree, I resent that. Add to this, I fell in love with a white American girl. I feel even more pulled between two worlds. At this point, I really don't know what I am. American, Mexican, is this just a quarter life crisis? I hope Mr. Coulombe can shed some light on my situation, since he is of French-Canadian heritage, living in an Anglo world.
Mm. Well, firstly, let me say I deeply sympathize, and I do understand. You know, the carillon de Sacré-Cœur over my head there means a lot to me. And of course, I'm very much aware that in the historiography that was presented to us when I was a boy, my people were the enemy in the French Indian Wars and so on. So I know what you're going through. The answer is you must be whatever it is God has made you. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, firstly, you have to know both of your countries as well as possible. You've got to know Mexico. It's where your people are from. It's what's in your blood. You've got to know not the phony Mexico you allude to, but the Mexico of New Spain, the Mexico of Lucas Alamán. Read his History of Mexico, incidentally, in Spanish. The Mexico of Miramon, of Iturbide, Miramon, Maximilian. Everything seems to begin with an M. Isn't that funny? You know, the Cristeros, the Sinarquistas, all of those people. You really need to get in touch with that. I think it's wise to do that. You also have to get to know something about the Hispanic heritage on this side of the border. In northern New Mexico, the Hispanos, for instance, their ancestors go back to the 1500s. And of course, we have the Californios in California, the missions and all that, the Tejanos in Texas, and the Floridanos in Florida, and their Spanish traces in Louisiana. In other words, get to know something about Hispanic America, the Southwest in Florida. That too is part of your heritage. The important thing to remember is that as a Catholic, the baptismal water is thicker than blood. So you really have to support the faith wherever you are, in whatever position you're placed in. Be as perfectly bilingual as you can. You know, my French is very poor, sadly, but my father was perfect in both French and English. And of course, he was my model in terms of how to deal with this very issue. Also, look up Pedro Villaseñor. Looks like Villa Senor for all of us Anglo people out there. He was the leader of the Sinarquistas in Los Angeles, and an interesting character back during the 20s and 30s and 40s. So embrace both. Take the best of both and cast the worst. God saw fit, for reasons beyond your control, to birth you in one place, put you in the other, and he may send you back to the first. Well, roll with it. Take the best of both. Be proud of both. There's a lot to be proud of in both cases. And yes, it's certainly true that so many of Mexico's problems, including her moral corruption today, comes from the United States. There's that wonderful old saying, poor little Mexico, so far from God and so close to the United States. There are two books that Tumblr House sells that I recommend very highly. One is called Bloodstained Altars, and the other is called
Mexican Martyrdom?
Mexican Martyrdom. All right, there are three. You've got Bloodstained Altars, Mexican Martyrdom, and No God Next Door.
We don't sell No God Next Door, actually. That's out of print. We don't sell that one.
Well, you're not getting it then.
Yeah, sorry. This one right here. Yeah.
Blood-Drenched Altars.
Yeah.
And that is a great history of Mexico. and it puts the American relationship with Mexico into perspective. As far as marrying a white girl goes, Maximum, make sure the two of you are clear if you're going to get serious and if you're going to get married. Make sure the two of you are clear on each other's expectations of a wife and a husband. Because your culture will have told you one thing, hers will have told her another. And you need to get that threshed out. Take it from one who knows. Other than that, you descend from noble peoples and you live in a great country. What's not to like? I always say that if you want to hate the United States, study the history of our foreign policy. If you want to love the United States, take a road trip.
Wow. Right, a bunch of questions from Anita.
Okay.
Please tell us about the holy chrism used to anoint the kings of France. Is there any left?
Good question. Well, in the year of 496, when Clovis was baptized by St. Remigius and became a Catholic, Remigius was going to crown him as king, and the Holy Ghost descended from heaven with an ampulla of chrism, which has been used in every coronation since. At the time of the French Revolution, the ampulla was smashed, but a priest gathered up a lot of the contents and saved it and brought it out in time for the last coronation in 1825. To answer your question, yes, there's still a supply of it at Reims.
In the English coronation rite, what is the significance of the peers putting on their coronets at the same moment the sovereign is crowned?
To show that their authority flows directly from the sovereign. So when the sovereign's crown is put on, they all put on theirs to show that they're his or her subjects and that their authority comes from her.
How is the French spoken in Quebec different from standard French?
So much better.
How easily can a Frenchman from Montreal and a Parisian understand one another, each speaking his own dialect?
They can manage.
It takes... Okay, they can manage.
Takes a little bit of paying attention. But I mean, and some of the words are different, and the accent is very different. The Parisians have a very thick, weird accent.
Okay.
Unlike the Canadians, the Canadian French, of course, have a perfect accent, which is wonderful.
Makes sense.
I mean, how much difficulty do you have chatting with an Australian?
None.
Well, you sure?
Well, I don't know. I guess there are different types of Australians, right? Some with really...
Twangy.
Yeah.
And there are some English dialects you have a hard time understanding, I assure you.
Right. I'm just thinking of a comedy series done by New Zealanders where they're making fun of Australians because of that rivalry.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of rivalry. What do you call a cultured Australian?
What?
A New Zealander.
What
New Zealand is divided into the North Island and the South Island. What do they call Australia?
The South Island?
The West Island.
The West Island. Okay.
Those are Kiwi jokes.
Have you ever been to Australia?
I have. I've been to New Zealand too.
What do you think of it over there?
Which one?
Australia.
Great. I enjoyed it.
Okay. I know you have a lot of Australian fans.
I do. And I love Australia. I love New Zealand. I love Canada. I love South Africa. I love Britain and Ireland. I I'm a force for unity within the Commonwealth.
Is there any country you don't love that where you said, you know what, this place is just a hellhole.
It's a dump.
It's a dump. I can't stand this.
None that I've been to.
Okay. Final question today from Anita.
This isn't. Wait a minute. Inga, this isn't about guinea pigs, is it?
No, thank God.
All right. Because I know you're getting tired of hearing about guinea pigs.
That's correct.
So I'm glad the last question has nothing to do with the cute little creatures.
Me too.
All right.
What are Mr. Coulombe's favorite hot adult beverages to chase away the chill of winter?
Oh, that's so much better than talking about guinea pigs, isn't it?
Yes.
All right. Well, I have a lot of them, actually. To start with, one I rarely get, but I am the happiest kid on the block when I get my hands on one. Tom and Jerry.
What is that?
Well, what it is, you basically make a batter out of egg whites and egg yolks and confectioner's sugar and things like that, butter. And you mix that with brandy and whiskey and nutmeg and stuff of that nature, and then put in hot milk and stir it up so it's frothy. It's really good.
Wow. Do they serve that kind of stuff in restaurants?
When I was a kid, it was everywhere at Christmas time. Now, about the only place you can find it is in the Midwest, in the coldest parts, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and all that. You can find it. Ohio.
Sounds really interesting, but
it's interesting, but it's hard to make.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of a lot of work for a drink.
Well, one of the things they used to do is they would pre-make the batter. And they'd chill it. And then, actually, I remember when I was a kid, they actually had pre-made batter that, was made by, it was pre-made. It was like it came in like little bottles.
Let's pretend there's no COVID, and I walk into a bar and I say, "Hey, bartender, give me a Tom and Jerry." What would happen?
In most places,
yeah,
they'd either look at you and say, "I've never heard of it," or they'd say, "Boy, I haven't made one of those in years. I wish I had the makings."
Okay, let's say I went to the Derby and said that.
You'd probably get the same answer. Now, if you went to, I don't know, the Biltmore or the Roosevelt in Hollywood, maybe. I actually got one years ago with your brother, I'll have you know, at the fabulous Palace Hotel, the Pied Piper Bar in San Francisco.
Wow.
And I didn't think I'd be able to get it, but they made it for us both. Your brother had one.
I really want to try this now, actually, suddenly. This is, it's one of those, I don't know, it's kind of like a forbidden fruit thing, this drink you can't get that's really intriguing.
You're not allowed to have a Tom and Jerry. Now shut up and go away. Like that.
Okay.
Glühwein.
Oh, yeah. What is that again?
Well,
that's a European thing, right?
No, it's hot wine with, honey and spices and so on. It's very tasty. And hot toddy, hot whiskey and water, hot buttered rum, which is just what it sounds like.
Man, I want to drink all of these. These all sound awesome.
They are. They really are. And of course, although it's not hot, I like eggnog.
Yeah.
But hot buttered rum, hot toddy, what do you call it? Tom and Jerry, Glühwein. Oh, and of course, I can't forget what is called in Germany, the Feuerzangenbowle, and in Austria, the Krambambuli.
I think I've heard of that, or you've talked about that before.
I have. Basically, you take various wines, like, you make a punch with wine and citrus, slices of citrus and some other things, spices. And then on a grate over it, you take what's called a Zuckerhut, which means a sugar hat, which is sort of a cone made of sugar, but it's drenched in rum, preferably 151, and set aflame. And it goes down through the grate into the mixture. And then when it's done, you set the whole thing aflame, and then you drink it out of flaming cups. And it's really neat. And there's Café Brûlot Diabolique, which is made at Antoine's. Same, flaming drink. Very nice. And there was a game. You wouldn't actually drink it, but there was a game called Snapdragon, where you had raisins in burning rum. And you'd snatch a raisin out with your fingers. Snapdragon. It was a Christmas game. But the trick is to be quick and steady. If you hesitate for a second, you burn.
You have to stick your hand in a flaming drink to take out the raisin.
You've got a flaming bowl of rum filled with raisins. You stick your hand and pull a raisin out.
That's scary to me. that is.
So you hesitate and get your fingers burned.
Why? And
the trick is to not hesitate. If you just go in and pull it out, you'll be all right. But it's when people hesitate that they get burned.
Oh, that's scary to me, especially as when everybody's drunk and you're playing with drinks that are on fire.
Didn't you ever go bobbing for French fries?
You've made this joke before. No, I haven't. I don't want to burn myself in that kind of manner.
I see. Okay. You ever race guinea pigs?
We're not bringing the guinea pig thing onto the main show. I will edit any guinea pig edition that you bring onto the full episode. I'm cutting that out.
Why would you cut off guinea pig races?
Wait, races?
Yes.
I thought we were talking about fights.
Now we're talking about races. You can race them too, But see, the problem with racing them is similar to the problem with the fights, in that guinea pigs don't really have a terribly competitive nature. So when you cheer them to race, they tend to just snuggle each other and sometimes just fall asleep. So it's not always as exciting as you might think. But I've seen kids go, come on, Bubbles, run. And little Bubbles just sort of snuggles up next to Patchman and maple syrup and passes on. I mean, they're cute and kind of a clump, but the problem is that nobody really wins the race that way. So it was hard to get people to bet on guinea pig races.
Okay. And that's probably why not many people do it, because that's the lifeblood is, can you bet on it? Can you bet on it? Because I remember in college, I was from my, logic and critical thinking professor. He felt that soccer wasn't popular in the United States because you can't really bet on it easily. That was his theory. I don't know if it was true or not, but that fascinated me, that a sport's popularity was, he felt, contingent on your ability to bet on it. That's fascinating.
I can see that possibility.
Yeah.
I can see that possibility. I mean, I couldn't get people to bet on the guinea pigs easily. It took a lot of work.
Look at. You're trying to break me, and I don't appreciate it.
Trying to break you? What are you talking about?
I just said what I'm talking about. You're trying to break me, and I'm not going to let it happen. So we're ending the pre-show right now. Done.
Now, wait a minute. Let's discuss this. Let's expand the conversation. Let's ask our patrons if they enjoy seeing you break over nonsense.
Okay. Well, no one's watching anyhow. I've looked at the stats. Only like 10% of the people make it this far. So, okay, for all you patrons that are left, do you enjoy when Charles breaks me? Write it in the patron comments, and we'll see what comes out.
And right. Do you share Vinny's antipathy toward guinea pig sports of any kind?
Yeah, that's really important. Hopefully, it's overwhelmingly in support of me, and so that we can officially ban any guinea pig talk going forward. Because you like money more than you like guinea pigs.
Hey!
That's right.
If that were true, I would never have bet on guinea pig races, now would I?
Okay.
Often enough, the only way I could get them to bet at all was to match their bets.
Excellent, Charles. Okay.
That's the kind of loyalty I had.
We're all very impressed, Charles.
I'm not surprised, actually.
All right, that'll do it for the pre-show. Stay tuned for the full episode, coming right at you.
The guinea pig free episode.
Let's hope so. Let's hope and pray.
If you did feel threatened by guinea pigs, you'll be safe on the next hour.